The decarbonization of Europe will become synonymous with its deindustrialization and eventually with its poverty and its irrelevance.
Deindustrialization was not inevitable. It was a conscious policy choice, a decades-long economic undertaking that stripped our nations of their wealth, of their productive capacity, and of their independence.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to our channel. Did you know that one of the biggest challenges facing our society today is that our leaders are not being truthful to themselves and they are not being truthful to the people? In this video, Susan Kokinda unveils some truth that aren't being told. Before we get into the details, like this video, subscribe to our channel, share this video, and leave a comment below.
He said that the destruction of the American economy was deliberate.
Deindustrialization was not inevitable. It was a conscious policy choice, a decades-long economic undertaking that stripped our nations of their wealth, of their productive capacity, and of their independence.
He's right. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't market forces. It was a plan written down 50 years ago, and today we're going to give you the receipts. Now, you've seen the reports about the U.S.-European face-off at Munich, how the globalists marched a lineup of failing European leaders and American has-beens and wannabes onto the stage to challenge President Trump. But even the pro-MAGA coverage of Marco Rubio's powerful speech missed the bombshell that the deindustrialization was deliberate. Now, we didn't miss it because we were there in 1977 when the Council on Foreign Relations announced their plan to do it, when they called for, quote, the controlled disintegration of the world economy, unquote. I'm Susan Kokinda, and I was part of the team that exposed that report 50 years ago. So when I heard these words come out of Marco Rubio's mouth, I knew that what we were seeing is the most significant challenge to British imperial policy in modern American history.
Deindustrialization was not inevitable. It was a conscious policy choice, a decades-long economic undertaking that stripped our nations of their wealth, of their productive capacity, and of their independence. It was a foolish but voluntary transformation of our economy that left us dependent on others for our needs and dangerously vulnerable to crisis.
Let a few of those phrases sink in. A conscious policy choice, a voluntary transformation of our economy. Actually, it wasn't so voluntary, but I'll get to that in a minute. Now, here's what makes this speech so extraordinary. Rubio wasn't speaking into a vacuum. In her Saturday brief, Barbara reviewed the collection of warmongers and anti-Trumpers who filled that room in Munich. And she reported on the fact that the theme of the entire conference was, quote, under destruction. And it was a full-on attack of Trump's policies in specific and on the concept of national sovereignty in general. But lurking between the lines of the conference report and speeches is this reality. The globalists are no longer in control of the current world dynamic. The conference report says that economic uncertainty is nearly 3 times higher than it was during the 2008 financial crisis. Why? We don't have banks crashing like in 2008, at least not yet. That economic uncertainty comes from the fact that Donald Trump and his team have declared that the 50-year-old post-industrial model is over. Now, reflecting the recognition that the jig is up, European Central Bank head Christine Lagarde titled her speech, Preparing for Geoeconomic Fragmentation. And in it, she warned that a more assertive industrial policy is causing a rise in geopolitical tension and more frequent financial market stress. Now, translated, that means we have to now live in a world that is being reshaped by an assertive American industrial policy, and we who represent the global financier elite are no longer controlling the table. Lagarde signaled that new reality when she warned about the fragility of the European financial system. She said, we must avoid a situation where that stress triggers fire sales of euro-denominated securities in global funding markets, which could hamper the transmission of our monetary policy. Fire sales of euro-denominated securities? Is somebody getting a little nervous? Then she said that the European Central Bank will be expanding its repo facility to bail out bad euro-denominated securities. Why? Because for decades, the Federal Reserve had backstopped European financial markets. That's over, and the U.S. is no longer the lender of last resort, for the gambling casino run by the City of London. But the fragility of European financial markets is just part of the picture. The real story is that Europe is destroying itself physically. A few days before Munich, the Prime Minister of Belgium delivered a stark message to the European Industry Summit in Antwerp.
Over the past 4 years, announced closures in the European chemical industry increased sixfold, representing a loss of almost 10% of the European chemical production capacity. In countries like ours, Germany, the Netherlands and France, the situation is simply dramatic. We are at the brink of an existential crisis.
Now, where does that existential crisis that he references come from? Here's the killer punch.
The decarbonization of Europe will become synonymous with its deindustrialization and eventually with its poverty and its irrelevance.
There's that word again, deindustrialization. The Belgian Prime Minister is saying the same thing that Marco Rubio said at Munich and that Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said at Davos. The globalist system of free trade and green insanity is a failure, and it has gutted the industrial base of the nations that succumb to it.
Our leaders have fallen and have been entrapped in an ideological mess with net zero, open borders, deindustrialization, big government, the welfare state, and overtaxation. They are so entrenched in their ideology that it is impossible for them to see the realities that are happening around them. Until our leaders are able to see practically, they will never be able to find or create practical solutions that can make our nation safer or more prosperous. The decisions that our governments have made in the past are catching up on them and are eventually catching up on us all. The problem is that all they do is to tax us to the brink without care, hoping that it will fix the problems. Sadly, it just makes things worse. Until our leaders are willing to face the truth and let the people know the truth, we will all keep going around this mountain, exhausted and stressed, without any end in sight. Because when the truth is hidden, everything seems lost. Only truth can make us free. Do you believe in truth and practical solutions? Leave a comment below. Let's hear your thoughts. If you have benefited in any way from this video, please subscribe, like, share, and be sure to leave us a comment.